What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Tomorrow's election day, and it's going to get crazy up in here. In fact, we've talked extensively on this channel. I covered another video about polling stations being removed from this election, being shut down. People in rural areas being told that they have to go further to vote. Many of you commented that this had happened in the provincial elections, that it wasn't common, that you feel like this is voter suppression. And ultimately, it is in a sense because it is making it more difficult for certain people to travel longer distances to go and vote when their polling stations are regularly open. That being said, news story breaking out over the weekend, courtesy of Rebel News, that there are alleged voter suppression incidents happening across LNG sites in Alberta, being told, well, because you're on site, you're not going to be able to vote. Now, keep in mind with our military, even if they're abroad, usually, at least to my knowledge, Elections Canada provides kits. They allow our veterans, our soldiers to vote. They're given that opportunity. It's their God-given right. Your obligation to vote in Canada, or your right to vote in Canada, is your God-given right. You have your due diligence to perform tomorrow if you haven't yet at the advanced polls. Every Canadian should be going to the polls in the most important election of our generation. We will be covering the election. Myself and Mrs. Fringe will be here tomorrow night. Now, the polls close in Newfoundland around 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Mrs. Fringe and I will be starting our broadcast at 5 p.m. Pacific. Just because we don't start getting results until much later in the evening. We want to make sure that you guys aren't here all night waiting slowly for 2 or 3 hours before other polling stations are closed. So we'll be starting that broadcast at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central Time. Make sure to join us on the channel for that. Let's get into the news on what's happening with Rebel. Drea Humphrey showing an election whistleblower that now raises the alarm over alleged voter suppression for LNG site workers. Now, my wife has worked in oil and gas for over 2 decades. It's not common for people that go to site. They're usually 2 weeks on, 1 week off. They're flown out to these sites. They're remote areas. And many people will say, well, it's in Alberta. Who cares? It goes conservative anyways. That's not the point. The point is that you have the right to vote. You have an obligation as a Canadian to perform your civic duty and vote. I want to take a look at what Dre is doing. We're going to chime in from time to time. I'm not going to show the entire video. In fact, I will have a link down below in the description if you do want to go and watch the entire video. Show Rebel some love. Throw them some support. They did absolutely fantastic with the support. Let's get into it.
Concerning information from multiple verified sources who allege that thousands of tradesmen working for the massive LNG Canada project in Kitimat, BC, may not be able to have access to vote on Election Day this Monday. They claim they were led to believe that transportation would be bringing them to a site where they could vote, only to find out just yesterday, which was Thursday, that that's not happening unless you are a Kitimat resident. However, most of them are not. Now, I must let you know this is a developing story. I have put out my media inquiries, including to JGC Floor, which are primary contractors on that site. But because it's so time sensitive, I'm unable to wait for their answers to give you a response.
So what Dre is saying here, and again, my mistake, I thought this was an LNG site in Alberta. This is in Kitimat, BC. Probably a lot of Albertan workers there because, again, this is Fluor. Fluor is a major corporation. In fact, my wife worked for them at one point. And as Drea says, she's waiting for an answer back. Sometimes these projects, the people that are heading these projects, emails get buried, things get swamped. They're all over the place. If you've ever seen an office within an LNG operation, especially in somewhere like Fluor, very, very chaotic and busy. They're very well organized, but there's a lot on their plates. So again, so close to the election, everybody keep in mind that this is allegations at this point. It's a grain of salt. That's what I wanted to make sure we paused in and pointed out, that while I'm not doubting the claims of said workers, due to the legal representation that we haven't verified, or Rebel hasn't yet verified through Fluor that this is the case, We have to just take this person's testimony as hearsay in the meantime, but nonetheless, let's continue.
Already received a response from Elections Canada. They asked me a couple more things for clarification, so they're working on it. I will update you as soon as I know, but for now, this is one of the whistleblowers who, for obvious reasons, we will not be disclosing their identity. Here's my interview with what this person had to say. Can you let us know these concerns you have about the struggle with the ability to vote?
Sure. This hasn't really become a thought until recently, literally yesterday, when we all realized that we have no option to vote. I can't speak for other sites and other provinces, but a few thousand workers here that were looking forward to this immensely really had no option now. We were told that we were all going to be bussed to the election or to the polls to go and vote. Come to find out that that's just not an option, or that's not how we're going to do it this year. We have to literally be in our own riding, which doesn't work for guys that are on ships from one side at a time that, don't get to go home.
Well, the advanced polling is over, but were you told, hey, you guys better go out and vote in an advance way? And was that possible?
No, for some people, yes, that have had time off, a few did go into the advanced polls. But others, like I said, that have been here on lengthy shifts completely missed that. Wouldn't have had a chance to go and do that.
So part of that, again, I want to chime in on is a lot of times when folks go to site in these places, they're very remote. They have to be flown in. In most cases, I know at least in Alberta, and the site workers are usually, because they're brought in from all over, they're usually in, as he says, in lengthy shifts. They're usually there for 2 weeks at a time. So 2 weeks on, 1 week off, or 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off. They do the schedules in different levels, depending on the site, depending on how they do things. But again, with my wife working at Floor previously, I know that it was usually 3 on, 2 off. For some sites, now again, that's not the case for all. They make up based on the project what they're doing. But if you were there for 2 weeks on, even 1 week off, last weekend would have been the advanced polls, and again, this week is the election. So again, advanced polls don't even give people the option to go and vote at this point. So they're being told, no, you have to be in your riding. You can't have any kind of concession, I guess you could say, in order to vote. You're just not allowed.
Supervision here, who basically every day have just said to us, hold tight on the day up. We'll bust you all out. They don't hold on stand by for more information. And, okay, no problem. And come to find out recently that, they had no plans on doing that unless you live local, which we really have nobody to lose local. So to us, it kind of seemed like it was, sort of just keep everybody quiet and, don't rustle any bushes.
So
this is where I'll cut it off. And again, I would encourage everybody to go and watch Drea Humphrey's full interview. I want to kind of play the devil's advocate here. When he claims that, well, we were kind of told to just hush up and maybe it's suppression. Keep in mind, this is an LNG site. This is Fluor. Fluor makes a lot of their profits off of the oil and gas sector. My guess is that when it comes to getting the votes out, when it comes to getting the contracts they need to survive as a corporation, they probably typically, and I don't want to speak for them, would lean more to the conservative end of things because conservatives like Pierre Poilievre want to open that up. They want to give contracts to those companies to mass produce their products. I don't see this as voter suppression. What I see this as is poor organization amongst the corporation to have the answers for these folks in order to go and vote. They could have contacted Elections Canada. They probably could have done their due diligence to find out what can we do for these workers. Is there anything that can be done in order to give them the right to vote? But this gentleman, again, the interview does lay out some other groundwork, but again, I want to play devil's advocate to say that it's up to the office to figure those things out and give them that information. Well, again, on these sites, things are very hectic. They're worried about their deadlines. They're worried about project-related issues. And not to say that voting isn't important, but to feel that you're being told, keep everybody quiet, we don't want them voting, I don't believe that that is the case. Again, I know everybody likes a villain. Everybody wants to see everything go negative. But again, I want to shed some calming light on this situation that hopefully these folks are able to go and vote. Hopefully a solution is presented to them because again, it is our right. It's our right as Canadians. And when you work those long shifts, it definitely is unfortunate if you're not able to extend that right when they give that right to our military, when they give it to those who are abroad. We should be able to find a way for these folks to vote. Again, I would put it on the company for maybe taking too long, putting it on the back burner, poor organization, what have you. Hopefully they're able to vote, but I do not believe at this point that this is targeted suppression for the election. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video's earned your subscription. We've been jumping up the ladder lately. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. Thank you to everybody who's joined us throughout this election coverage and grown our large Fringe majority here on the channel. We're getting so close to that silver play button, folks. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you join us tomorrow night for election night coverage. Again, myself and Mrs. Fringe will be here. We'll be having fun. We'll be doing giveaways. It's going to be a wonderful night for everybody. Hopefully we see that big blue wave cascading across the country. At least I hope that's the way it goes. But nonetheless, join us tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, here on the channel for full election coverage. It's going to be a hell of a night. If you haven't yet, leave a thumbs up and a comment down below. And keep your eyes peeled for more videos coming your way before the election. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.